feral friends and fellow nature nerds. Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara here, and welcome to Dirt Dispatch number 13. We are now at a baker's dozen of Dirt Dispatch episodes. I don't have a lot of observations from outside my house this week. I had to have surgery about a week ago, and so I've been recovering, and most of this last week has been spent limiting my movement and sitting around with my feet up. But that said, I do have a couple of observations and a few things that I can talk to you about. One is I'm still hearing my great horned owls, which is always awesome. I love hearing them um, at at dusk, which is now earlier in the evening. We're starting to see dusk here about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then early in the morning, which is also about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So that's pretty cool. I love hearing them. Um, my cat-faced orb weavers, Katarina and Chloe, sadly, both of them have now disappeared. Now, I talked about them a little bit on a previous Dirt Dispatch episode, and they only live about a season, cat-faced orb weavers. They're beautiful, beautiful spiders, and they don't overwinter. The adults don't overwinter. So hopefully both of them um, created their egg sacs, laid their eggs, and those are tucked away somewhere nice and safe. I suspect that both of them just reached the end of their natural life cycle and have gone away, unfortunately. I'm heartened by the fact, one thing that has lifted my faith in humanity a little bit these last couple weeks is my local Facebook groups. I've seen posts both about coyotes in the neighborhood and people saying, what do I do about these cat-faced orb weavers? And even before I could get on there and kind of provide some calming effects, a lot of other people have jumped on and said, oh, we have cat-faced orb weavers around our house and we named them. So I'm not the only one who has named my spiders. And even with the coyotes, people have jumped on there and said, well, so you saw a coyote in the neighborhood. Yeah, they live around here. That's pretty normal, not a big deal. So that makes me feel good. So the one thing, since I don't have many observations to talk to you about, I thought I'd talk to you about some book recommendations, some things I've read or I'm reading. First of all, I recently bought the Atlas Obscura wildlife book. And this is a wonderful book. It's not the kind of book you would read cover to cover. This would be a good book to have in the bathroom and give you something to look at while you're doing what we all do in the bathroom. It's really about weird and unusual nature facts, animals, plants, and just kind of strange things from around the world. It's a really interesting book. It's wonderful. I'm really enjoying it. I'm currently reading a book called Fuzz When Nature Breaks the Law by author Mary Roach. And this is a really good book, too. It looks at um, coexistence with wildlife. It's not just animal attacks and things like that. There is some of that, mountain lions and jaguars and bears and elephants. But it also looks at elephants that get drunk and destroy crops, or elephants that are migrating and they go on maybe a rampage and destroy homes or crops. Bears and monkeys that are breaking into cars. Birds that have become problematic. So it's really about coexistence with wildlife. How do we solve or at least mitigate some of the problems that we've created when it comes to wildlife? And how do we reduce the problems that we are creating? How can we live peacefully with wildlife? And it's very well written. She's a very good author, so I highly recommend that. And one that I just finished reading recently and has become one of my new favorite books is called Fox and I by Catherine Raven. And Catherine Raven is a biologist, and it's the story of how she befriends, or maybe more accurately, is befriended by a wild red fox that lives on her property in the mountains of Montana. And how that relationship kind of changes her views on wildlife and things like that. And it contains one of my new favorite quotes of all time when it comes to nature and things. And that quote is this. She says, "The tracks we trouble to leave behind tell a story about our character." And I just love that quote because it has so much meaning in it, not just physical tracks, but mental and emotional tracks as well. So I'm going to leave you with that. The tracks we trouble to leave behind tell a story about our character. Thanks again for tuning in. If you want to support the podcast, you can do that by becoming a patron. Check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/dispatches from the forest. If you want to send me an email or if you want to make a PayPal donation, you can do that using the same address, dispatchesfromtheforest@gmail.com. You can also get yourself some Dispatches from the Forest merchandise. You can find the merch store at cafepress.com/shop/Dispatches from the Forest. For additional content, check out Dispatches from the Forest on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm your host, Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara, reminding you to go outside and get dirty. Dirt Dispatches is a production of Dispatches from the Forest and may not be used or rebroadcast whole or in part without express written permission.